Okay, thank you so much for being part of this session today. I'm super excited to be part of one of the most transformational shift which is happening in Cisco, where AI and network security are coming together to be able to solve problems in more practical ways. I think we have all heard about AI as a buzzword in the last 1 year. We started as a buzzword, but we see that it has started to become a real force today in being able to reshape how we are securing the complex infrastructure. I'm extremely proud to be part of this team which is driving this transformation, and I'm even more excited to be part of this team where we are surrounded by people and leaders who are extremely passionate about doing the right thing for the customer. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the session. Please make sure that you join the WebEx channel. That is where we will be making sure that we moderate the questions till June 13th, and I'll make sure that I respond all the questions to you. And if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to bring it up at the end of the session. And I'll also be here spending some additional time, so if you have further queries, please feel free to come by. If I'm getting kicked out of this room, you can see me outside and you can ask your questions. A small introduction about me. I'm Gayatri Nagarajan. I'm from the Cloud and Network Security Product Management team, and I take care of the management portfolio for Firewall and Hybrid Mesh Firewall, which includes products like Firewall Management Center, Cloud Delivered Firewall Management Center, Security Cloud Control, which is the Hybrid Mesh Firewall platform, and AIOps capabilities. Essentially doing everything which can make sure that the firewall operations get intelligent, are being able to get automated, and less of a headache for you. I'm also that person who loves to have conversations and would like to talk to customers and understand what's working well, what's not working well, and how we could make things better. Also, if a feature is not getting adopted enough, it's essentially unfinished. I'm obsessed with adoption. So if there's something we could do it right, we want to do that and make sure that it works well. On the personal front, I'm also an Indian classical dancer and a home farmer back in India. I had a big garden with a lot of vegetables and fruits, but I relocated to California in the last 3 months, so I'm observing all things California. So if there are any tips and tricks, please feel free to stop by and say hi to me and let me know if there are some good weekend getaways. Would really love to hear that. And I've also given my official handle, so please make sure to reach out to me for anything you need on Firewall in terms of feedbacks, roadmap discussions. If you have something you want to understand further, would be happy to help you there. With that, let's get into the agenda. We will be navigating through what are the complexities today we see in terms of firewall today. And we will also be able to see what is generally happening in terms of AIOps capabilities. So it's not just what we are doing, but what in general is the definition for AIOps and what our approach is towards AIOps. We'll also be zooming out and seeing from a vision perspective what's in it for you if you end up adopting AIOps. We'll also look at real-world use cases and outcomes, so it's going to be more focused towards what are the problems and what are the outcomes and how these outcomes are going to benefit you. And at the end, we will conclude by calling out the advantages of AIOps. I know that we have a rich agenda which is lined up today, and each part is designed to make sure that you are able to take something back to the team. And the reason why we are covering the real-world use cases and the vision is to make sure that you go back with clarity and confidence on what could be AIOps for you as part of your team. Before we get started, we'll do a quick show of hands. How many of you are using Cisco Secure Firewall Threat Defense? Okay, that's a lot of us. Tricky question. How many of you are on version 7.4.1 and above? That's awesome. That's good to know. Are most of you using on-prem Firewall Management Center? Okay. Anybody using Cloud Delivered Firewall Management Center? Okay, that's one. Okay. Sounds good. This gives a good idea about what mix of audience I have. So what we will do is, we will go over what are the complexities today we see as part of firewall management. As we have seen through the last couple of years, we have seen that users, workloads, and applications are essentially getting highly distributed across. And protecting in this complex environment is getting even more challenging than ever. So one of the reasons why we want to actually leverage AI to operate at machine scale is because we are not actually dealing with one firewall or two firewalls anymore. We are dealing with tens and hundreds and thousands and 10,000s of firewall as we look at it. So we want to make sure that we are able to operate at scale. And when I looked at, hey, what are the firewall admins mostly thinking about? What are they ranting about? And then when I looked at Reddit, what I found is that it's not been easy for the firewall admins to do some of the operations which are their day-to-day. There are complex configurations, there are frequent cleanups which are needed, there are several health monitoring metrics you got to monitor, and most of these operations are very reactive today. I don't know how many of you started your journey as a firewall admin going and doing a policy cleanup. Anyone here? Yeah? I know it's very tough. I did see a lot of comments about like, hey, I started my day one and all I was assigned was to clean up the policy, and it was extremely difficult for me. And not every one of us are CLI ninjas or CCIE experts. So it's got to come up with a trade-off, right? So one of the things why it is becoming difficult is because of the growing complexities we see, and misconfigurations being the number one problem. We know that Gartner continues to say that, hey, 99% of the breaches are because of misconfigurations. And if you see, it's no zero-day, no sophisticated attacks, it's just human errors which are causing those problems. And why we could not figure out these human errors in time, it's because we did not have visibility into the risk. And because we did not have visibility into the risk, we were not able to predict that there could be potential problems because of these configurations. So we have been overall acting on a reactive way to solve the problem, firefighting after the problem has occurred rather than proactively solving the problem. This is essentially what we want to solve as part of AIOps. And I'll show you a quick example of how it looks like today from the Firewall Management Center in terms of going and looking at a problem, investigating it, and then fixing the problem. So in this demo, you need to assume that, hey, you are an SME, you know everything about the firewall, and you're very hands-on. And when you see a problem, you would essentially know how to go and fix the problem. And this is from the Firewall Management Center, essentially where you would see that for any of the data, I'm not going to the device. I have all the information available in the FMC, but still look at how much time and clicks I'm going to take in order to solve the problem. So I'm seeing that there was a health spike. There was a CPU notification which came up. Now I go to the health monitoring menu, and then I see about CPU trends and see whether there's something spiking up here. Now when I zoom in further here, I see that some of them have actually reached to 96%. What I do is I expect that there could be elephant flows in the network which is causing the problem because I'm an SME, right? So that's the thing. Now we are going into the connection events, and then we are saying what are the connections which could have caused these elephant flows, and then I get to the L5 tuple to figure out these are the connections which are essentially causing the problem. So when you see in this overall journey, you see that everything is available from the Firewall Management Center. The data is all available. Now what I do is I go to the Unified Event Viewer, I do a predefined search on elephant flows, and then I exactly go and see, hey, these are the set of applications which are actually causing those elephant flows for me. I was able to narrow down on what's the application, and because I know my environment, I'm also having the additional information that, hey, the security risk associated with this application is very low, so maybe I could bypass this. Or I would know that, okay, there is high risk associated, let me throttle the traffic. So I go to my access control policy, advanced settings, and then I click on the elephant flow detection and remediation flow. I choose whether I want to bypass or throttle there. So I go ahead and select what are the applications I want to bypass in this case, and then I would save the changes, and then I would deploy the changes. But it doesn't end there. Once you deploy the changes, what you're also doing is that you're going back to the health monitoring menu, and then you're looking at, hey, have I actually resolved the problem? Whatever fix I did it actually remediate the problem? So you're going to constantly monitor until you know that the problem is being fixed. Now, look at the amount of clicks and the amount of expertise you needed to have in order to resolve a problem after you have seen the problem. It was possibly some 20 plus clicks did you spend, but then all the information was actually available for you right on your FMC. There were numerous dashboards which actually communicated to you the information. Yet, you had to correlate all that information. You had to firefight it after the problem has occurred. Now, the problem here is that there's just too much of data to make a decision. This is what we want to solve as part of AIOps. What we want to do as part of AIOps is essentially simplify the operations and enhance the security posture through various recommendations. And throughout this session, you will see me talking about use cases where you'd see that instead of you going and manually trying to resolve the problem, the product is listening, the product is correlating, the product is troubleshooting and showing to you what's the right thing to do. So we're going to see some examples of it. So instead of the prior experience what you saw, what if you saw this experience? You log into the product and the first thing you see at the top is that the product has prioritized issues for you. It's given a risk-based prioritization, so you're not really seeing millions of metrics. You're seeing few insights. And those insights, when you click on them, it's essentially going to tell you, how do I remediate this problem? That's what we are going to look at in terms of AIOps. So our goal is this, right? Instead of you troubleshooting, doing 20 plus clicks, as you log in, you are able to see the problem. So your mean time to detect the problem is significantly getting reduced. We are providing you AI-guided remediations, which is essentially going to make sure that you're not going and investigating and figuring out how to solve the problem. Okay, I saw that this has happened, now how do I solve it? So that is where we are giving you guided remediation, so your mean time to resolve the problem has significantly reduced. That's the goal of AIOps, and we will see through use cases how we are going to achieve that. But before we get there, let's look at what generally our approach is in terms of AIOps, right? So we got lots of data. Is it that we are taking all the data and what are we doing with that data? So there are three metrics we are looking at here in terms of AIOps: observe, engage, and then act. We are doing that through various cycles. The first key thing which you need to do there is data selection, to be able to figure out what are the metrics I should be able to send to get what kind of insights. Pattern discovery, being able to figure out what could be the problematic areas by looking at the pattern and isolating the problem. Inference, this is where we get to the root cause analysis. Okay, we have shown you what the problem is. What is the root cause analysis associated to it, so that you would know why this is being shown as a problem rather than just as an FYI. And collaboration, so that when you get the problem, you are able to easily associate it part of a ticket and you're able to submit it for approval. And lastly, automation. Once we have the AI-guided remediations in place, all we require is a human loop to review the changes, and then essentially, everything else is taken care automatically. So this is what we are looking at. We will invest in getting the various metrics we have today in Firewall in terms of health monitoring metrics, troubleshooting data, traces, events, alerts, and we would be feeding that to the AIOps engine. And what it would do is that it would help us in getting root cause analysis. It would help us in getting trend analysis. It will help us in getting pattern discovery. And the pinnacle is to get to a self-healing state. Ultimately, it should get there, but we are not there yet. So this is our aim. If you ask from a maturity curve where we are today, we started with intelligent alerting. And then we slowly pivoted into being able to do smart event correlation. Then we have pivoted into being able to forecast or predict problems as they occur. And we are now in a state where we are able to give AI-guided remediations. As I said, the end goal is to make sure that we could get to self-healing state, but that's going to take a long time. But what we are doing now is being able to give you the remediations and being able to get a review and acknowledgement from you that, hey, you could go ahead and push these changes, right? So that's where we are today. I want to talk a little bit about what we are doing in terms of vision and a future before we actually get into the exact use cases. So as I told you, AIOps is all about shifting the paradigm from being reactive to proactive. We are giving you various kind of insights, like for example, how can we look at the policy analysis and be able to determine anomalies and give you recommendations on how you could fix that policy through a policy analyzer and optimizer. How we could give you best practice recommendations so that we could prevent potential misconfigurations from happening, give various suggestions which can help in improving security posture for you. And all of this, we are making sure that it's also available through AI Assistant so that you have a conversational way of making things happen. So you will see me talking through various insights in different kinds of categories like policy insights, health insights, operational insights, traffic and security insights. We have close to 1 million firewall footprint today in production. And from all of that, we are leveraging millions of metrics, as I told you. This is what is fed to the AIOps engine, and what essentially happens is that your team is not going and looking at 2 million metrics per firewall to investigate and figure out what to do with it. Now we are going to go and look at few countable, actionable insights, and you're going to remediate from that. This capability is available from Security Cloud Control, which means it's a SaaS-based offering, and this is available as part of your firewall entitlement. And what we do, as I said earlier, is that we take various of your metrics which are available today. The firewall actually has different types of data, and every data has some seasonality associated to it. So it's not that there could be one way to solve this problem. All this data has to be taken and interpreted in a different way so that we are able to give you something meaningful in terms of insights. So we would take the configuration data and we would determine how the policy's health is, how the policy's compliance is. We would take the health monitoring metrics and we would predict anomalies in it. And with the help of anomalies, we can predict and tell you, are there any potential problems which will occur? So that's where we leverage the predictive analytics. We also leverage troubleshooting data. Our TAC has actually developed something called as Cylon years back, and what they have done as part of that is that over the years, all the signatures they have observed which has caused problems, they have curated that and they have associated it with a signature. We have taken the goodness of all of that and we have leveraged that into the AIOps engine. So imagine getting the power of 200 CX engineers inside your product. That's what we do as part of AIOps. So these metrics are taken and they're processed, and then insights are delivered for all the firewalls which are managed by Security Cloud Control. Now, does it mean that if you have an on-prem FMC, you would not get these insights? That's not the case. How many of you have heard of Cloud Assist capability we released in 7.6? Okay, there's only 2 of us. So we'll talk about it. There's further slides coming, and I'll talk about Cloud Assist and also show you a demo of how you could leverage Cloud Assist. So in a nutshell, what I want to talk about in terms of the capabilities what we have today from AIOps is that we'll show you a summary view which will give you a complete picture of what are the various problems which are happening in your firewall and how you could remediate and solve that problem. We also show you various kind of insights like best practice recommendations, traffic insights like elephant flow detection and remediation. So the demo you saw when I showed 20 plus clicks, I'm going to show you how it's going to get to 1 click as part of the use cases. We also have a lot of forecasting use cases, like for example, being able to monitor multiple VPN headends and being able to predict that it could reach its threshold and it could hit and give capacity related problems. In terms of policy optimization, we are not just investing in optimizing the firewall policy, but we are also making sure that we could convert from port-based policies to app ID-based policies to make sure that your security posture is good. We are also investing in NAT policy analyzer optimizer, the network address translation. So we are making sure that your policy health can be cleaned up and it could always stay optimal at any point of time. There are also other insights we'll be talking through today in terms of a software upgrade planner, a renewal upgrade planner, which can essentially help you plan your upgrades more easily than ever. So these are the use cases we'll be looking at this point. Now let me quickly get into each use cases at this point. The first thing I want to talk to you is about the policy analyzer and optimizer. What essentially this does is that it's going to help you understand how your policy health is and being able to identify what anomalies exist in your policy, and it will also show you how to remediate it. So this is how the policy analyzer optimizer from the Security Cloud Control AIOps looks like. So you can see here that once your FMC or your CDFMC is onboarded into Security Cloud Control, your policy is automatically getting analyzed, and it shows you how much is the scope of optimization which is available as part of that policy. So I'm not really spending cycles and cycles going and looking at the policy, trying to figure out what are the anomalies in it, and I'm not doing it manually for each and every policy I have. It comes up instantly to me as I log in into the product because I've enabled AIOps, right? Now, a real world example I would like to give you is that there's been configurations where we have seen 81% of the policy actually just has anomalies in it. And it could be just optimized, and you could always be working at optimal performance in terms of your firewall. And the same configuration, as I said, is also available as part of AI Assistant. So you could have a conversational way to do it. Now I'll show you quickly about the Cloud Assist capability what we have built. Before I run the demo, I'll give you a basic logic about how we make this happen. So if you're an on-prem FMC customer, and if you're running 7.6 and above, and when you go to the integrations page, there is a integration capability available to Security Cloud Control. And when you click on that, essentially what happens is that a tenant is provisioned for you at the backend of a region of your choice. So essentially you get the flexibility of having a tenant which is free of cost as part of your firewall entitlement. And as you do that, you get access to all the capabilities we develop in the cloud as part of AIOps. So the important point to note here is that you're not shifting your FMC or migrating your FMC to the cloud. Your day-to-day configurations, everything remains as it is, but what you're doing is that you're just having a token established to the cloud and having a bidirectional data flow, which essentially enables you to get these insights being on-prem itself. That's what the Cloud Assist capability is about. If you do not have 7.6 FMC or not planning to upgrade to 7.6 any point of time, you could go ahead and create a tenant directly as part of Security Cloud Control login, and from there you could onboard your on-prem FMC. So it's just that it's not available from the FMC screen, but you could still go to the cloud and you could sign up there and onboard your on-prem FMC there and get it working. Either way, just making sure that the capability is there for you to leverage it. So now I'm in my FMC. I am already in my integrations menu. And what I'm doing in my integrations menu is that I'm going and clicking on what is the region of preference for me. Once I've selected the region of preference, I'm also skimming down to see what settings are there. So essentially, if I enable Security Cloud Control, what are the options which are available for me is what is listed down. Once I review that, I'm clicking on Enable Cisco Security Cloud Control. It takes me to this page where it could do a single sign-on, and what it does is that it establishes a secure token. With that secure token and me selecting what is the tenant I want to use, I would be able to onboard the on-prem FMC I had back into this tenant. So all of this is being done. You saw that there was no configuration change. We were able to make these changes, and once we do this, we save it. This takes up to 90 seconds to be able to provision a tenant for you in the cloud, and once this is done, you have access to the cloud. So which means that now I could get to my policy page, and from the policy page, I could click on my Analyze button, and it could take me to the policy optimizer, what is available as part of AIOps, and I'll be able to remediate it from there. So the goodness is that you're not leaving your on-prem FMC, you're not taxing your on-prem FMC in terms of resources, but you're able to leverage the goodness of whatever we are able to deliver through AI by leveraging this cloud channel. This is also available natively to the cloud customers. So now I'll show you how it would look like once you onboard your on-prem FMC. You got your FMCs onboarded into Security Cloud Control, and now in Security Cloud Control, you want to go and do the policy optimization. So what would happen here is that this is my policy analyzer and optimizer page, which is available. Notice that at the top, there's something called data source. When you select the data source, you're essentially selecting whether I want to optimize my on-prem FMC or do I want to optimize policies from my CDFMC. So once I select that, it would essentially list me policies which are only applicable for that environment. And it shows me a perspective of, as an admin, hey, how much work I have to be doing to complete it. Like, what is the optimization scope? How well is my policies doing? And I get an idea about it. So here, when I go through the overall view, it gives me an overall perspective of what anomalies are existing in it. And notice that there are individual tabs which gives you how much of scope of optimization is possible for a redundant rule or a shadowed rule, a mergeable rule, an overlapping rule, or an expired rule. All these categories are well explained in that, and you'll also see that we give you definitions of what a particular anomaly is. There are also learn more options which are available in the product, which make sure that you can help yourself understand what this anomaly would actually mean. Now when I get into a particular policy, say suppose I'm pivoting into one particular FMC, and I'm getting into one particular policy here, I'm seeing a complete split of what are the policies and unhealthy and healthy rules essentially. You also see what is the rule usage history and what are the rules which have hit counts and what rules are essentially dead, a perspective of how your policy has been used. As you move forward, what you also see is that it shows you that there are duplicate rules. And there are two categories of duplicate rules which are shown here. One is a shadowed rule and the other one is a redundant rule. So shadowed rule is when you have a rule at the top that's going to be hit all the time and the rules which are there below are never going to be hit. But they are still there, still being written in the policy every single time, and they are just making no sense. There's also a redundant rule which is exactly the other criteria. So now I'm going to click on the shadowed rule, and I'm going to go through the observations. Notice here that we just did not leave by showing you the observation. What we did was, we showed you that observation. We also showed you what is the rule or rule it can be merged into, and we also show you what are the anomalies which are present in it. So I picked up an example where there are 8 rules which are being shadowed by this rule at the top, and when I click on it, you can see the rule which is preempted by and the rules which are there below. And when you click on each of these rules, it's going to expand further into further details. The reason why we are giving all these details is that we want to make sure that you have all the data which is available for you to make a decision. We know that policy changes are extremely critical in your organization, and any change, unwanted change, could lead anyway. So we are making sure that all these details are provided. Now, as you review this, you would decide whether you want to delete it or you want to disable those rules. The reason we have given disable option is because we want to make sure that you feel comfortable. So you don't want to delete it in one shot, disable the rules, see whether things are working, and then you go ahead and delete the rules, right? So I also have the additional flexibility here where in the table view, I can select metrics which are important for me. So I'm not actually going through all the attributes which are available, but just selecting few tuples which I want to see. Now, as I fast forward here, what I also see is that redundant rules, right? So in the redundant rules, what I see is again there are observations listed, and there are rules which are there at the top, and there's a rule which is an overarching rule which is at the bottom. So it helps you to go through it and be able to decide what are the observations you could do. So you take a classic example, what is shown here. There are 12 anomalies which are existing with one particular observation. So you review that observation, and you see what changes you want to make as part of it, and then you make a decision, right? Similarly, there's also expired rules. So rules which have been there, maybe we had put in as part of time-based ACLs, we had put in as part of some events, compliance, audits, and they are forever sitting in the environment. So you go ahead and look at what are the expired rules, which I want to still continue having because 6 months down the line, I again need this rule. So I'm intentionally keeping them. That's all good. So you make sure to add comments and then keep them. Or there could be scenarios where you figure out that, okay, these rules are something which I don't more need, and I would make sure that I want to delete these changes, right? So you would review all these changes, and then you would essentially make a decision. Similarly, the other category which is available here is mergeable rules. So the mergeable rules category is where Most of the information is common, but there's just some parameters which are missing. So essentially they could be combined as part of, for example, the object groups or port groups, and make sure that they could be optimized instead of having multiple rules in play. So these mergeable rules are again listed here. The other category what we have is the overlapping objects. So essentially in overlapping objects what you would have is that most of the values of the particular objects are same, but it's just that some of them are being distributed and spread across, because of which it has been split into multiple different rules. So the overlapping objects gives you a very good scope to optimize and cut down the number of objects. I've seen in so many customer conversations we have like thousands and millions of objects. We have various object optimization capabilities in the product. One is this overlapping objects. We also have object group optimization and interface group optimization. All these will inherently help you in reducing your object count. There's also policy insights which are available. This is one of my favorite things where you could do a little bit of playing. You go select what action you want, and you would be able to see what kind of actions and what kind of scenarios the rules has been hit and how well it has been used, right? So once you review all these changes, I can also create a report out of it. So there's a download report option which is available, and when you click on it, you're essentially able to pull out a report for your audit purpose or for reference purposes. You want to get it reviewed from somebody, that's been available for you. And this report is something you can generate at any point of time. So imagine that you're remediating to some extent, and then you would want anomalies to be generated again, and then reports to be generated. That is again possible, right? So once you do this, you're essentially applying the changes and then you're saving the changes. So as you do this, you can see that your rule, your policy has been completely optimized at the end of the day, and these changes can be saved and pushed to your firewall devices. This is one example of what we saw as part of optimization. How we are very quickly also evolving this is by making sure that we are able to bring suggestions beyond this. So we are looking at scenarios where we are looking at port-based rules, essentially legacy rules what you had been having in your environment for a long period of time and not been cleaning it up. But we know that port-based rules are more weaker in terms of security posture, because if you have a port-based rule, essentially even a BitTorrent can be accessed through it, right? So we would figure out what are the port-based rules, and we would suggest you how you could upgrade them into app ID-based rules. So I'll show you a quick demo of that. So I'm going to the same policy insights page, which I showed you as part of my previous demo. Now you can see here that there is no app specified also coming up. Now what would happen here is that it would look at a rule, and from the traffic it will figure out what are the applications which are accessed through that rule, and then it will figure out what is the security risk associated with it, and it will show you how you could upgrade that rule into. So your port-based rules, with the suggestions what we have given, you make a suggestion that, hey, these are the applications I want to allow as part of it, and then save changes. As you do that, you have converted your rules to app ID-based rules. So these two changes, and then what I talked to you about, the NAT policy analyzer optimizer, is something which is going to be coming in October 2025. So hopefully in the next iteration, I'll be able to show you a demo of network address translation optimizer as well. The next thing I want to talk to you is about feature adoption. I know that many of us go ahead and purchase licenses, and we would want to leverage few capabilities in the product. For example, today our Cisco Firewall can do something called encrypted visibility engine. How many of you are aware of it? Okay, that's good. So what encrypted visibility engine does is that it's able to get visibility into the packet without decrypting it. And there are many organizations who would want to actually do decryption to understand what's happening, because 97% of the traffic today is encrypted. But what if they just turned on encrypted visibility engine and did not actually have to go through the full decryption? So this is where feature adoption will essentially help. So what it will do is that it will give you a view of, based on your licenses, what you have, what features you have adopted, and what you have not adopted, and it will give you an idea of enabling what features will give you what kind of benefits. So if, for example, you're using a Microsoft Office 365, and you are dynamically changing IPs in your access control policy, that's an overwhelming task today. How many of you know about dynamic attribute connector we have? Okay, there's only 1, 2, 3. That's good. Okay, 5 hands. Dynamic attribute connector, what it essentially does is that if you have these kind of SaaS-based applications, it helps you to establish a connection to it, and it will learn those IPs and it will dynamically update them into the access control policy. So you're not going to be making any changes in your access control policy in terms of IPs, but the dynamic attribute connector is essentially going to take care of all of that. But you could leverage all these benefits only if you knew that it was there in the product and that you could leverage it. So that's the purpose of feature adoption. It looks at your configurations, tells you what matters to you and how you could enable it, and it will also give you small YouTube videos which would make sure that you could learn how to enable and use the product. The next thing I want to talk about is best practice recommendations. This is one of the things we have recently launched. It's GA'd from April, so if you have a security cloud control tenant, you should try it on and see how it's beneficial for you. This is all the wealth we have taken from CX from several years of signatures which they have updated by looking at various troubleshooting logs they have seen. So essentially how this is going to help you is that it will be able to predict potential misconfigurations. Like take an example of NAT pool exhaustion. It's going to be able to tell you that, hey, this configuration could actually lead to a potential misconfiguration and be able to proactively bring that into the product. It's also going to give you various other use cases which will essentially tell you that, hey, there's a packet capture which is still running. I don't think you intended to run it because maybe you did it as part of troubleshooting and you left it open. What if you are not actually downloading the vulnerability management database updates which we frequently keep pushing? That's to make sure that your security is at any point of time updated with the latest data. These are the things which best practice recommendations brings in. Additionally, what we are also investing as part of this is to make sure that we are able to understand about the compliance. So I'm sure that many of you have compliance related requirements in your organization, and maybe you're going through audits on a 6-month basis or a 1-year basis, etc. We are also looking at how we could leverage compliance and make sure that we are able to give you insights about it from the best practice recommendations itself. So what we saw so far is configuration-related insights. We saw about policy analyzer optimizer, we saw about best practice recommendations, and we saw about feature adoption. If you have noticed the trend, what we saw is we understood about the configuration you had, and we made sure that the health of the configuration, compliance of the configuration, and security of the configuration is well taken care of. Those are the use cases we saw. Now what we are going to see is that how the traffic is going to behave as we actually start using the firewall on a day-to-day basis. How it acts up, what are the various metrics you need to take care as you actually prepare your ongoing monitoring for the firewall. That is where I want to talk to you about insights, for example, on elephant flow detection and remediation. So in the beginning, I showed you a demo where we took a couple of clicks to be able to get to how to solve a problem. Now I'm going to show you how it's going to look like with AIOps in picture. So here is a screen where you see that already AIOps has triaged and it's being able to tell you what the problem is. You have not done any of that analysis, right? The product has correlated and it shows you that, hey, there are high traffic spikes I see because of elephant flows. And it also shows you what are the devices which are impacted by that. Not just that, if you notice, it also shows you a probable cause. That probable cause and root cause explains you why you're hitting this problem. The most favorite part I have here is that the root cause analysis shows you details about what application you're using, what's the throughput which is consumed by that application, and most importantly, what is the security risk associated with that application. So this essentially helps a person to understand, hey, I'm observing this problem, I'm seeing that it's because of these applications, and I'm also knowing that it's because of the security risk associated with it. Now, what do I need to do? How do I remediate the problem? it populates this information for you in terms of remediation and shows you what needs to be done. So it's giving you an AI-guided suggestion on what needs to be done, and all you're doing is that you're reviewing that change and you're approving that change. That's what we are looking at solving in terms of AIOps. So imagine the various traffic insights you see on a day-to-day basis. You would be seeing trends about connection. You would be seeing trends about throughput, sessions, etc. If all of these can be correlated and this information can be given it to you upfront in a prioritized manner, you are actually avoiding a lot of noise which comes as part of the firewall reporting. Yeah? Another example which I want to talk to you is about VPN monitoring and capacity planning. So here what we are doing is that, take an example that there are multiple VPN headends and there are a lot of users connecting and working towards the session. As a firewall admin, I don't know how many of you use RAVPN, site-to-site VPN? Yeah, that's a lot. So I'm sure all of you are seeing through these problems. How do you go and monitor how these various session activities are? Today you go and look at the dashboard. You are proactively seeing from where regions what activity is happening, how the users are using it, are there any idle sessions there around, and you constantly try to keep it optimized. If you don't do this proactively, essentially somebody is going to ping you and say, hey, my business continuity is blocked, I'm not able to access, can you help me? It comes as a ticket to you and then you start looking at that problem. So again, this is what we are looking at avoiding here, right? If you see with RAVPN monitoring and capacity planning, here we have been able to study the patterns. So essentially we look at a 7-week of data. So there's historical data and there is current data what we are looking at, and we predict what could be the potential problems we'll hit into. So here you can see that AIOps is able to tell you that you will hit potential problems by this time frame. It gives you a time period and it prepares you for the time period. So essentially you are getting enough window to be able to decide what to do to solve the problem. Additionally, what also happens is that when you click on start remediation, based on what kind of insights you are seeing, it shows you how to remediate that problem. So here it's giving you a suggestion that you could reconfigure the idle session timeout, but based on what scenarios you have, the solutions could be very different. So all this is generated based on what data, what root cause, and what is the inference based on it. So these are some examples of how we analyze the traffic and capacity trends in the firewall. The next topic I want to talk to you is about software upgrade planner. Before I get to software upgrade planner, can I get a quick hands-on of how many people find firewall upgrades difficult? Okay, almost everyone. How many of you have recently done upgrades to 7.6? I saw very few hands with 7.6. Okay, okay. So one of the things which you should definitely see is that our FMC upgrades have reduced to essentially 3-click upgrades in the latest releases. And our FTD upgrades are reduced to just 4-click upgrades. And we have already started to get a lot of telemetry data from our customers where we see that the FTD upgrades have significantly reduced in terms of time and in terms of complexity. So while we address that from the product, I also want to know what are the various factors you consider when you want to actually plan for an upgrade today? What are the various metrics you go and see? Like what, do you do bug triage? Yeah? What's going to fail when you upgrade? What kind of bugs you see? Okay. Okay. So what kind of bugs you would see and what kind of issues you might hit when you end up upgrading? Okay, what else? Can we get mic for him? Alan? Excuse me? Can we get mic? Oh, I couldn't hear what they were saying. Who raised hand? Sorry, him. Yeah. Sorry? Compatibility, the version compatibility. Okay, I heard it. Thank you. Okay, what else? Version compatibility, bug fixes. Okay.
Any deprecated protocols?
Deprecated protocols. Okay, okay. Hardware support? Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Upgrade doesn't?
The upgrade doesn't complete.
Upgrade doesn't complete.
Upgrade failures, yes.
Okay, upgrade failures, essentially. Okay, okay. So I got a lot of interesting data. As I told you, one of the things we had been like consistently investing in is to make sure that our upgrades are 100% successful. So as you move to the newer version, you would definitely see a lot of improvements as part of upgrades. And 7.7 is released already, so you will see the 4-click upgrade and 3-click upgrade already in the product, and that should significantly help you. The other thing I also see, there's a lot of interesting feedback I got from the room about bugs, about deprecated protocols, models, hardware models, what could be the version I need to upgrade to. I would imagine that identifying all of this data and being able to determine what version you need to upgrade to takes from weeks to a month. Is that realistic? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding. So it takes a lot of time. Now, what if I tell you that the product is able to do that and present to you that analysis? That is what we have as part of Software Upgrade Planner. Typically, what you would do as part of triaging, you would go and see what are the bugs which matter to you, and you would want to know whether I would have these bugs resolved when I move to a newer version. Do I have p-certs or vulnerabilities which could be creating a problem for me, and what is the version I need to move to be able to solve it? I also want to know whether is this version compatible for me for this model? Can I actually upgrade to this? You don't have to go through all of that now. The product is able to prioritize all of that, and it is showing you a report of what are the versions you could actually upgrade to. And if you look at the little circles at the top, it shows you what are the CVEs which are present, which are remediated in that particular version. And also notice that we give you a minor version and we give you a major version. We understand that your maintenance windows could be smaller and it could be bigger. We don't know. So we are making sure that we give you a flexibility to understand what's the potential minor version you can upgrade to, where these CVEs or bug fixes are resolved, and implicitly your version problem is automatically taken care as part of it. We also give you the major version, and when you actually further get into each of these devices, what we also do is that we show you what are the benefits of getting into that particular version, which would also mean that we would give you a link to release notes which can help you understand what are the new capabilities which are in there. And notice that at the bottom you see CVEs and bugs. Now what we do is we give you dedicated pages which can help you understand what are the CVEs which are impacting you, and to understand further details about it in terms of description, which version it is fixed, what is the patch which is having these fixes, etc. So this is what it looks like. Of course, I have cropped it because I didn't want to go through a 30-minute demo here. So here you can see that when I get into AIOps Insights, at the top, you can see that it shows an insight of 4 devices which are eligible for upgrade, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and click on the devices to upgrade. And essentially what happens here is that it shows me what are the path for every devices which are eligible for upgrade. And then when I pick a particular version, so I picked 7.7 there, and when I pick, that's the latest version which is released, and 7.8 is coming in October 2025. So when I pick that latest version, and then when I click on upgrade, it maps to me to this upgrade flow. Here you notice that you are not going to be downloading any of the packages anymore. Whatever version you have selected, those packages are automatically downloaded. The pre-checks are automatically taken care, and what we do to make sure is that we get your acknowledgement in terms of whether we could do that upgrade or not after we do the pre-checks. So this is an example where we are showing you how we have simplified the overall upgrade workflow, and we have been able to reduce your time which it takes to invest in planning for what version you want to upgrade. And as you can see, this is the first version. This is going to release in October 2025, and we are also making sure that we incrementally invest in it to capture all the real-time problems you're seeing today in terms of upgrade. Like, what are the various things you would want to make sure that before upgrade, it's been automatically taken care, or I have that data ready to me so that I don't have to go through various reports, etc. So that's what we are doing as part of the software upgrade planner. The next thing I want to talk to you is about renewal upgrade planner. So you talked about the hardware models, and then you do not know how long do I support these hardware models. When is Cisco actually announcing about this end of life insights or end of support, etc. So what we do here is that we go through all the ASAs and FTDs you have in the environment. We figure out what is the end of life support available for it, and then we show you what are the potential new models you can actually upgrade to as part of renewal upgrade planner. So this essentially helps you. One perspective, what we saw before, was essentially helping you to do the software upgrade. The second perspective is, okay, these devices cannot be upgraded anymore. You're already in the latest version of it. Now what's the new device I need to go to? And if I go to the new device, what are the benefits which are available for me as part of it? So treat this as something which can help you in planning what device you could upgrade to more quickly. And this is how the renewal upgrade planner looks like. So essentially, it will show you that list of devices, it will show you the model of the device, and it will also show you what are the new models you can upgrade to with linked release notes. The last insight I want to talk to you here about is about visibility into user risk. We have all been hearing that identity is the new perimeter for security, and we have been seeing several cases where hackers are not hacking in, they're just logging in, right? That's the new trend we are seeing. Now, how do we mitigate such problems? This is where we have integrated with Cisco Identity Intelligence. It's a product which is again available as part of Cisco. In the keynotes also you might have heard about it. That helps in giving you visibility into user risk. What we do is that we bring the goodness of the visibility, what it provides, into AIOps as part of user risk associated with it, and provide you as insights here. So what happens here is that you would know that, okay, this is the user, but this user could be suspicious or could be questionable or could be untrusted based on the scores in which the Cisco Identity Intelligence evaluates and puts them in. So these are the various capabilities what we have as part of AIOps today, and which is coming very shortly. And you will see that we are incrementally making sure that there are various insights coming in the categories I talked to you about. So I would like to conclude by saying that AIOps is all about how do we simplify the operations, how do we enhance the security posture, and how we provide AI-guided remediations. And if you look at it from an advantage perspective, it's essentially going to help in reducing the misconfigurations and helping and improve the security posture. A little bit of, again, housekeeping. So please make sure that you give the session reviews. If you have enjoyed the session, please give me a 5 on 5 rating. If you have any questions, I'm here to take your questions. And there's also a lot of learning which is available as part of the Cisco portal, so please feel free to leverage that. With that, I would like to really thank each one of you for coming and spending your time today to learn about AIOps for Firewall. I'm here now to take questions.
I don't think you'll need any help hearing me. Do you have any idea when this is going to be available? Is it in 7.6?
This is already available, AIOps, from last year, September 2024. So if you have a 7.6 FMC, go ahead, do a cloud assist, and you can start benefiting from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you do the? Sorry.
So you said the FCM, right? Firewall manager can be moved to the security cloud, right?
Yes.
Can you do the FTD as well, FDM?
So your FTD devices are essentially your hardware devices or your virtual devices. Okay. They would stay where they are. It's the management plane, which is either on-prem or cloud. And that is something which is possible today.
Like, I mean, I don't have the FMC right now. I just wanted to know whether I can still see it on the...
Absolutely. So if you have firewalls, or if you're planning to invest in firewalls, you could use a SaaS version of management, which is Security Cloud Control, and have a cloud-delivered FMC instance in it, and be able to manage and get these insights.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So you mentioned that if I'm a 7.4 customer, I can take advantage of this, right?
Yeah, so if you have a 7.4 FMC,
Yeah.
yeah, so what you could do is you could directly go to Security Cloud Control, get a tenant provision for you, and there you will have a capability to onboard your 7.4 FMC.
How does that connect back to on-prem?
So that's where we establish a secure token. The one example I showed you is an integration which is available from FMC. Like that, there is also a similar flow where we have from Security Cloud Control. When you onboard it, it would establish a secure token, and that secure token would also pop up in your FMC. And then an auth happens, and then the token exchange happens as part of it. So the token, what you saw, the exchange, what we were having, that same thing would also pop up when you do it from the cloud.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Just curious, once you do the cloud connection, how often are you managing from there versus the FMC? Now you've got kind of 2 pages or to
Great question. Yeah. So if you're actually having an FMC, you're going to do your day-to-day operations only in the FMC. You're not going to be juggling between your on-prem and cloud. It's not going to be like 2 different consoles to do your regular management. However, if you have the Cloud Assist, it's going to relaunch into the Cloud Assist capabilities, and that's going to be a separate tab where you will just see the AIOps related insights alone. So your day-to-day policy management, everything you could continue to do it on-prem. So you're not really disturbing your on-prem environment, but you'll still get the benefits of cloud. Sure.
If you have something less than, I think I'm running 7.1 on my FMC, is that still, you're able to manually go into
So we need at least 7.2 and above.
2 and above?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
When you do like a policy optimization, what's the mechanism to change it to config on the local FMC? Does it pull config to the FMC, then the FMC composes it?
Yes. Yeah. So the cloud would pull the config, and then that's how it does analysis on it, and then it shows you what is the optimization scope. And once you save it, it's again a push mechanism where it would update the changes back in the FMC. So you're not really seeing stale data. Once you save it there, you're seeing it here.
Is there a reverse feature on that one?
Sorry?
Is there a reverse feature?
So yes, that's a great question too. So we are also bringing in something called policy versioning that is going to come as part of 10.5, which is planned for July 2025. And what would essentially do is that you could actually take versions of the policy and keep. And before you actually make changes, like even now in the policy optimizer, it would tell you that you could take a backup of it and keep. That's already there. But additionally, we are actually investing and bringing policy versioning. So you could essentially say that this is the version I want to revert to, and without any traffic drop, it would roll back to that version as well.
I guess if you're going that route, you have more versions, so you can go back to several versions, because
Yes.
you can actually do that.
Yes.
Use a version from
Yeah. So there's one capability which is already available today in terms of policy rollback. And what that rollback helps you to do is it'll persist 10 good configurations which you mark, and you could roll back to any of those configurations. But that comes with a traffic drop. But what we are newly going to also bring is the policy versioning, where you can also go up to 10 versions. By default, it would save 3 versions, but you could go up to 10. And in that case, what would happen is that there's no traffic drop. So essentially, you're pointing a configuration, and that changes can get deployed to the device.
Can you manually specify on the version?
Yes, yeah. You would mark what is your favorite configuration there. You would mark it as a golden configuration.
So on the upgrade planner, there was a bug fix tab. Can there be a bug caveat tab?
Yeah.
Because we have chosen not to deploy certain software because of the caveats. And I did not see that.
Sorry, caveats as in?
It's the unfixed bugs. For
Oh,
version
okay.
code.
Oh, no, it'll show you only resolved bugs.
Right. We
Yeah.
want to see the unresolved bugs.
Okay, that's a good feedback. I'll take it in. Okay.
right? Does the FTDs also have to be, can we keep them on 7.2 or 7.4 in case they're very old?
So you can keep up to 4 versions back. So if you're on 7.6, you can go up to 7.2.
Okay. But will it still work with AIOps?
Yes.
Right.
So our AIOps will work for all devices above 7.2. We do not support before that. Is that helping? Yeah. Okay.
How about licensing for the?
This is free. You get it as part of your firewall entitlement.
That was I was expecting to hear.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, that's also a right word, yeah.
You're not going to wait till we can't live without it to start charging.
At this point, there's no plan, so you should go ahead and use it. Yeah, please.
I was just wondering, if you have a cloud-delivered firewall management center, are you able to access the FMC GUI from the Security Cloud Control?
So your cloud-delivered FMC and your FMC exactly look the same. They have the same look and feel.
Yeah, I'm aware, but are you able to access that GUI from Security Cloud Control?
Yeah, if you
Along
have
with all of your other security products, like I hear that vManage, for example, is coming
Yes.
later this year to
Yes.
Security Cloud Control. You can manage all those products from one,
Yes, that's right.
one site, website.
Yes. So our Security Cloud Control is a hybrid mesh firewall platform. So we are making sure that you can get consistent access, security, and enforcement from one single place. We already support products like Firewall, FTD, ASA, the vManage, which you heard as Cisco router today, Workload, and Hypershield. And Secure Access is coming very soon. XDR integration is also coming very soon. So you will see that all these products will come together into one portfolio, and they will have tenancy with which you could be able to manage it. So consistent RBAC, being able to have consistent access across, and being able to deploy consistently is something we are working on.
Yeah, but is the same not true for on-prem firewall management center? You can't actually access that GUI from Security Cloud Control.
So just to explain, if you are in your Security Cloud Control and if you onboard your on-prem FMC, you will be able to access your on-prem FMC just like how you do today from a Security Cloud Control.
Yeah, but you can manage the GUI from Security Cloud Control.
Yes, from Security Cloud Control, you would pivot into the Firewall Management Center, and it would show you the same look and feel what you see today from FMC, but you will access it from there. That is also possible.
Even if it's on-prem.
Even if it's on-prem.
Okay, that's
Yes.
interesting because sometimes there's requirements to have design requirements to have it on-prem.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to be able to manage it from the same GUI as everything else.
Yeah. Once you've onboarded into the cloud, it gives you access to also manage it.
Thanks.
Sure.
Once we're in 7.6, for some reason someone does a wrong access control list, and there's an ACE limit, right? Usually on the 4150s, it's 2 million. Let's say hypothetically, when we get an alert, if someone wrote a bad ACL, very,
Yeah.
that's something that
Yeah, that's going to come as part of your policy analyzer and best practice recommendation. So if you have a wrong ACL, if it needs to be cleaned up, it's going to come up in your policy optimizer. If you have a ACL which is going to potentially lead to a misconfiguration, it's going to be bad to you, that's going to come up as part of your best practice recommendation. So it will show you up there as, hey, this role is configured like this, which is causing this problem. You got to remediate it this way. All right, thank you so much for your time and questions today. Have a good evening.